You want to talk about it? I'd rather laugh about it. Let's get a little dark about it on the Traumedy Show.
Welcome to the Traumedy Show. I'm your co-host, Rachel Wilford.
And I'm your other co-host, Megan Wilford.
And today we have Mary Beth Runnoe with us. Mary Beth is the author of Thinking of You, which is a personal memoir detailing the story of her relationship with her high school teacher who began grooming her. And she met him actually at 11 years old. Welcome, Mary Beth. We are super excited to have you here to talk about your story.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I was scrolling on Instagram like I always do, and your reel one of your reels popped up, and I went on a deep dive of all of your part 1, part 2 of reading this letter that your high school teacher had written to you. And it was such a good way to kind of like get you wrapped into the story, and immediately sent it to Rachel. And I was like, wow, this is a topic we have not yet covered on the podcast, and something that I have never personally experienced, but I have to imagine is way more common than we would realize. And just the topic of grooming. And I wouldn't be surprised if some people even listen to this episode and think like, oh, wow, something like this kind of happened to me too. And even realizing it later in life. So I was super excited that you were willing to come on and share the story again. I know it's a lot of emotional labor to come back and keep sharing this story, but we appreciate it. And I'm also sharing more about your book so people can learn more about it as well.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely very exhausting to talk about a lot, but like you said,
I know.
So that's why I keep up, because every day I get those messages of people saying,
I'm sure.
Oh, wow, I thought I was crazy. I thought I misread this. I thought I was crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we would love to just kind of start from the beginning, from your story, and also feel free to share any other like pertinent background details about your upbringing, about your school, all of that. Just start from the beginning and we will ask questions along the way.
Okay. Well, the background I think that's important to know is that, number one, I grew up in a small town and I went to a fairly small school. I didn't realize how small until my husband told me how many he graduated with. And I was like, oh, I graduated with 120 people and we were like the biggest class to go through my school. So
that is very small for a public school.
Yes. I had no idea. It's just like kind of its own little world. That's how small town, small school. And
this is in Ohio?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. In Ohio. So the other background to know is I was raised in a church. I went to a Methodist church as a kid. You'll find in the story that I ended up at a very evangelical church when I went to college. That kind of becomes part of this story, and you'll see, but it's not like I was raised in that environment from the start. So that's another piece of context that might help. Yeah. So I am a very musical person, and I have always been that way. So when I was in 5th grade, the high school did a production of Annie. And I auditioned. It was a dream. And then I got in. So that was really exciting for me. Even from a small school, there were still so many girls who auditioned for that. But that is also the first time that I met who would become my choir director, Mr. Davis. So he was the high school choir director, but he also directed middle school because, again, small school. So there was one choir director from middle school through high school. So if you took choir all those years, you had him for 7 years.
Got it.
So
what was your role in Annie? I have to ask.
Yes, I played Duffy.
Is that the little one or the bully?
Not the little one or the bully. She was just like one of the other.
One of the others.
My key thing that I got to do was I got to step on Miss Hannigan's foot. That's really
pretty iconic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. I grew up doing theater too, and also did choir and all of the things. So great. Yeah.
So you have lots of points of connection throughout the story.
Yes.
And she went to a small school and yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you're going to get it.
My school had 12 kids in the graduating class. So it was like hyper, but it was a very like small religious, like Christian private school. So it wasn't like the public school system, but I grew up in Idaho, which is funny. A lot of people think Idaho is Ohio. Especially on the West Coast, when they're like, oh yeah, you're from Idaho. That's like in the Midwest, right? Like they always, I think they're picturing Ohio. I don't know if you ever get that, but I'm like, no, it's fully Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
But
very different.
Idaho, they all sound the same.
Ohio, they do sound similar.
Yeah.
I'll give them that.
Okay. So Mr. Davis was the middle school and high school choir teacher.
Yes. And he didn't direct the shows, but he directed music in the shows that our high school did. So when I was selected to be an orphan, he was the music director. That's when I met him. I don't remember it being super significant other than I was a child and I wanted to impress the people who were directing because I wanted to continue doing that. So that was 5th grade. That's when I met him. And it's really only important to add the context of I met him when I was 11 and he's 14 years older than me. So I always have to redo the math. 25.
25.
How old are you oh my gosh.
She was 11.
How old were you when you're 11? I was going to say, how old were you in 5th grade?
There's that private school education coming in, Meg. Wow.
So 25. We got it.
He was 25. I was 11. This was the spring of my 5th grade year. When I went to 6th grade, it was mandatory to take either choir, band, or both. So I took both. So again, he was my choir director in 6th grade. I also don't remember anything specific there. It's not like we had a special bond. It's not like I was a favorite at the time. I just was a student in his class. And in 7th grade, I actually opted not to take choir, which seems very out of character for me looking back on who I was then. I think I honestly just wanted to be a middle schooler and explore all the different things that a middle schooler can do. So I didn't take it that year. And in 8th grade, I was able to audition again for the high school show. And that was commonplace because we were in a small school. So to fill the ensemble, 8th graders were always allowed to audition for the musical.
Got it.
And so it would build interest in the shows for when you come up, but also, like I said, filled out the ensemble. So I auditioned my 8th grade year. I was not in choir again, but I remember at the audition, number 1, I sang Camp Rock.
Yes. This is real. This is me. That one.
This is me.
Exactly. That's the one. Yep.
Let's go.
Exactly where I'm supposed to be. We've sung that song on this podcast so many times. Like it always comes up just in natural conversation.
Every time someone says, "This is me," I start singing that.
Exactly.
I'm sure it comes up.
And that's the power of Demi Lovato.
Exactly.
I can imagine an 8th grade choir audition just being so serious about singing that song.
Exactly.
And being like,
exactly. And I was in the bathroom practicing it with my friends. And that's what's really funny to me looking back is I stood there as an 8th grade girl, very excited to sing this Disney Channel original song. And he watched me sing that and still later was like, yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we'll get to that. These are the moments that I like to highlight because it's a reminder that even though when he confesses feelings, I'm 19, I was once this child standing in front of him.
Yeah.
Singing such creepy. Like a wholesome Disney Channel anthem.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And I really thought was art.
I'm sure it was.
And it was. Yeah.
We would have given you a standing ovation.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
God bless Camp Rock.
Yeah. So that audition got me in to the show.
Of course it did.
Yeah, exactly. And I, again, don't remember a whole lot. I wrote about this in my book and kind of reflected on that time. And my memory is of my peers and doing a musical for the first time, really, what launched my high school career in music. I'm using here. And I don't recall my relationship with him. I don't really remember a lot of rehearsing with him. I just remember the experience as a whole. And it's almost like that's the last time I have that. And it kind of puts into perspective as we continue what that relationship became, because what that memory is what it was supposed to be, and what those shows are for my peers when they think about it, but not me. So we do that show, and I do remember at some course through then, he was saying to me, if you want to keep doing this, you have to join choir. You're going to need to learn to sing in a group. You need to learn how to sing harmony. You need to join my choir. So the next year I joined choir officially from the start. My freshman year, he allowed me to be a part of the a cappella group. And I say that because it wasn't auditioned at the time. It was an invite group. So
that's so exclusive.
It was very exclusive. And I was, I think, either the only freshman or one of two freshmen that was invited into this group that he had. And I think he had created it pretty recently. At the time, it was a pretty new project of his. But that's to say, I joined the a cappella group. I'm rehearsing with him every Friday afternoon, in addition to during the school day. And then at some point, I also end up taking private lessons with him. So another day after school, I would stay after school and do a private voice lesson with him.
At this point, you were 15?
Yes. I would have been freshly 15, probably, because I'm young for my grade. So my birthday is September 26th. So I'm always a year less than what you think, usually. So I think I actually might have been 14.
Okay.
Year. 15. Yeah, I was 14.
Yeah, that makes sense.
14. So what was did you have a question?
I was asking if you remember he inviting you to like the private voice lessons.
I don't remember. And I write about this in my book because it's hard to remember. I remember, we think back to, 15 years ago, your memories, like they're blurry. Some things kind of get a little bit fuzzy, but I can imagine that he did, because I wouldn't have approached him to say, can you give me private lessons?
Yeah.
Right? So somehow that conversation came up that I wanted private lessons, and he said, I offer them. And then I brought it to my parents, because my parents paid him for private lessons.
Got it.
Kind of like tutoring, I guess, like some teachers offer tutoring. He offered private lessons. I don't know how many other students took lessons with him, honestly. I don't remember any of my peers talking about lessons with him. Maybe they didn't. Maybe it was just me. I don't know.
Got it.
So I took lessons with him, and I talk a lot in my book about those lessons, just because, number one, the way that trauma lasts forever is that when I sing, I think of the things that he taught me in that time that he was my private voice teacher. And it's hard to tear that apart, because he was teaching me good methods for singing. And so it's hard to, I guess, reckon with that.
Of course.
But the one main thing that he did is he showed me the musical Les Mis, which is kind of a big deal.
Yes.
And I didn't know it at the time because I was 14, but I was in love with it from the start, and it became a bit of my personality in high school. So as you can imagine, I was a little insufferable to my peers.
It's basically me as well. I was in a high school version of Les Mis when I was 14.
I would have.
So that was also my personality, as well as like Rent and all of the other big shows out at the time. But
theater kids thing. Exactly. So I remember he showed it to me because he wanted me to sing on my own for an audition for the musical that spring. We were doing Seussical.
Such a good high school show.
High school show.
The things you can think.
That really unlocked it for me.
I could go. You and I could side note.
And I told my co-director, I directed it I now direct the musicals at our local high school and junior high.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
fun. We did, and I told my co-director I never want to hear that show ever again. And it has nothing to do with this trauma. It's just
Sure. It's a different Dr. Seuss trauma of sometimes these songs.
Exactly. That's a different kind of trauma. The feathers. Yeah. It's a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
So
understand.
I was in that show. I played JoJo in Seussical. And that was my first lead role. And I started to understand that, maybe I had a talent here. Maybe I had something that other people would enjoy, listening to me sing. Maybe I could do something if I kept working at this. And for some reason, Mr. Davis, my choir director, sent me to a different teacher for voice lessons. I remember the conversation being, I'm training you here at school. You need to be trained by someone else if you're going to be doing these shows. And also, he was the music director in the show. So when I auditioned, he was my voice teacher who helped me prepare, and he was the person selecting who was going to be in the show.
Yeah.
So this is one thing that he did that was, maybe appropriate.
True.
Which it's just interesting to note because you can see the relationship kind of shift throughout my high school years. That's where it started. My sophomore through junior year, I did more shows. I was in the a cappella group singing, meeting with him after school, but also on the weekends a lot. A lot of the weekends I would see him because we would have a cappella performances over the weekends. We would do honor choirs over the weekends. I always did whatever regional honor choir was going on. Most of them were hand selected by your choir director, so he always selected me for those. One of them I remember auditioning for. So I did lots of extracurricular things where he was also there. And something I have forgotten to mention to this point is that he was married this whole time.
Got it. Okay.
Ooh. Okay. Yep. That's a layer.
Yeah. That is a layer that I always forget until it comes up, which it comes up my senior year. But yeah, he's married this whole time. I develop a crush on him through those years, which I feel it's important to say is very normal for a child to develop a crush on a teacher. He never discourages it, which I always believed was him not noticing it. But obviously I'm an adult now and I know better. Children cannot hide their crushes from adults.
Yeah.
And I certainly could not. It's very clear to me that I always would, day after rehearsal, so that I could talk to him, I would find little reasons to spend time with him. And he always would lean into that, whatever it was. Like there was a time, I tell this story in the book, but my best friend and I were sitting in the parking lot in his car talking as one does after like late night.
You were in his car with another...
Sorry, not the teacher. I was
okay.
in his car, and I forgot to like get my choir dress out of the building. So we did we text him? No, we went and knocked on his window because that was a whole thing. And he came out and let us back in, and we just stood and talked to him for like 30 minutes after that. So that's the kind of teacher he was. He was very charismatic, very engaging, knew a lot about his students, had fairly close relationships, I would say, with most of us. Although now looking back, I know that it was different with me. Something I did forget in the freshman year part of the story is I dated a senior when I was a freshman. And when that came out, my teacher started calling him Creeper, Cradle Robber. Just like always making jokes about how he was older than me and he was creepy and he was obsessed with me. And I ended up bringing up
projection.
Yeah. And I never clocked that as weird until I went to therapy and I was like, oh yeah. And he called my high school boyfriend Creeper. And my therapist was like, hey, that's not good. And
he shouldn't even like be clued into your dating life, really.
Exactly.
And then to take that step further.
Yes. Even if he had an idea of who I was dating, seeing at the time, it was not his business to comment on that, especially since it's not like I was going to him for advice on that relationship. And my peers were making those jokes, but he does not get to, joke with my peers about that. And he did it. I broke up with that boy my freshman year. He called him that the rest of the time that I knew this man.
Whoa.
The boy came back for, why is the word escaping me? You've graduated and you're invited back to the school for a special
alumni thing.
Yes. Thank you. That's the word.
Alumni thing.
That's the official word. He came back for an alumni. He was like, "Oh, don't look now, but creepers over there."
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Very persistently calling him that. There were other relationships I had that he made one-off comments on. I remember a boy gave me his leather jacket once at a theater festival we were at over the weekend, and he made fun of me and was like calling it a showmance and saying, "I know what this is. It's a showmance. It's going to fizzle when the show fades." Like, just a lot of comments about my dating life.
Right. It's so interesting to me that he was trying to discredit the competition in a way by like calling out the direct thing that he also himself was doing. It's just interesting to me when people, because he obviously was like insecure about that in himself, that he was having feelings for like a much younger, obviously like in an inappropriate way. And a 14-year age gap when the girl is in high school is obviously way different than a 4-year age gap when they're both in high school. Like, that's not the same, sir. But he was obviously already feeling insecure and, trying to discredit this other person you were dating in favor of himself, which is, so strange.
Yeah. Which I've learned since is a common grooming tactic it's isolating you from your peers, but to, discourage my age appropriate relationships. And I've spoken to so many women who have gone through the same thing. And most of them have something like this happening in their story where their groomer is saying to them, "You're too mature for boys your age. You're just too good for them. They don't deserve you." It's that type of rhetoric.
Right.
Common. Yeah.
To help kind of set the stage of like, only an older, wiser man who would be able to properly cherish and whatever.
Yes.
It's like laying the groundwork for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was going to ask, at all during this time, did your friends ever notice his special attention that he was giving you? Like, did they ever make comments?
Yes. And I actually wrote a whole chapter about this in my book because something that happened when I was an adult, which was when I finally told this whole story to my peer from high school, like the first peer that I told this to. She said, "Oh, that's crazy. We all thought he left his wife for you." And I was like, "What? I've never said anything to anyone about this." And that's not what happened. But like, regardless, the fact that rumor was allowed to start and spread and anyone believed it and it had any traction says something to me. But I also in high school got so many comments about it. My best friend was convinced that he had a crush on me. And so every time he would do something, he'd be like, "Oh my God, he likes you." And then it became, I received a lot of what I call favor. Now looking back, I thought it was achievement at the time. A lot of solos. I got the female lead in every musical that we did in high school. And people started to say that was because this teacher had a crush on me.
Got it.
And that was kind of the rumor that was going around amongst my peers, or the teasing that I would get directly from my peers would be like, "Oh, well, of course you got it. He likes you best."
Yeah. What did that teasing make you feel? Like, because you said you had a crush on him at the time too. So was it kind of like, no, he doesn't like me, but
Yes.
What if he does? Is that
Yes.
kind of,
It was exactly like every time they said that, I'd be like, guys, you're crazy. Like, he's married. He's my teacher. He doesn't have a crush on me. But inside, I was like, oh my God, I wonder if they're right. I wonder if he actually does like me. There was like this inner battle between like, I know better. He doesn't like me, but
Mhm.
also maybe he does. And then there are some things that he would do that I'd be like, that really seemed like he really liked me. And that's kind of junior and senior year is when that really takes off. So junior year, I remember we were going to a called Thespian State Conference
Mhm.
for theater kids. It's a state conference for theater kids. And we drove there in his car. So he was driving, I was in the passenger seat, and then in the back seat were three of my peers. And that was like one of a fleet of cars that we were all driving up there. And at some point during that drive, one of my peers like read out a sign and said in my pants afterwards, because that's what kids do. So it was like, I'm trying to think of a good example of what.
Was it like a your mom joke? Like a
Essentially.
type? Yeah. Got
Yes.
it. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Like new low prices in my pants.
Got it. Yep.
Comedy.
Let's bring that back.
Doing that again. Yeah. So my teacher did not stop it. And I remember immediately being like, that's kind of weird. He should stop this game. It's clearly inappropriate. And then he started joining in. And I remember thinking, maybe he's just cool like that. He's just, you know, down to earth and he doesn't care about these boundaries. And as a kid, that's your perception of something like that. You're like, oh, they're cool. And we went to a mall to go to the food court for lunch. And I remember when we walked by the store, that I get uncomfortable thinking about it, but we walked by the store Pink and he pointed at it. And then he leaned to me and he said, I can't say that one out loud. And he whispered that to me.
Oh.
And that was one of those moments when I was like, he didn't say that to anyone else. He only said that to me. Why do you say that to me? And then I kind of spiraled on that.
At the time, were you excited about it? Or was it starting to feel a little, wow, that's actually really kind of inappropriate?
Yeah, I was excited about it at the time.
Yeah.
But also something my therapist pointed out to me was because she was like, you built up all this discomfort in your youth. And I was like, I was never discomfort, like, or uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I was like, very excited about his advances. And she was like, did you feel nervous ever about it? And I was like, well, yeah, I felt nervous. Like, I'm sure I turned bright pink. I felt got very sweaty. And she was like, that was discomfort because you knew that was not appropriate.
Yeah.
And that kind of put a new perspective on all of those moments that I thought I was really grateful for his attention. When in reality, I recognized that something was off.
Your nervous system was like,
the way,
red alert.
Exactly. Like the way that your mind and your body process things sometimes can be different. Like the signals get mixed up in that way.
Exactly. Yeah. And when I felt my body processing it, I just mislabeled it. I labeled it as excitement. So I have a lot of little examples of that too, that I talk about in my book. Another one is I was a very naive child, very innocent. And one time in choir class, I remember the kids behind me were goofing off and I turned and I said, guys, stop jacking off. Because I thought that just meant like goofing around.
Right.
And my best friend at the time, Maverick, started cackling.
Like what I just did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And my teacher was in the front of the room and I could tell that he was like holding in laughter. And I was like, what did I say? And Mr. Davis was like, I'm not telling her. I'm not telling her. You tell her. To my friend, who then turned over and whispered something to me that did not, like, I'm pretty sure he said, it means jerking off. And I was like, what are you saying to me? That means the same thing, goofing off, right? And I remember it escalating, and Mr. Davis looked at me and said, it's something that your male peers do a lot.
Oh.
And again, at the time, in that exact moment, I thought, goof off.
Oh no. Oh no. We got to get Mary Beth on Urban Dictionary or something.
I needed help. That is when my peer, my friend Maverick, leaned in and whispered in detail what it meant. And I remember the just dread, and I felt so mortified at what I said, but then also what had ensued after, and connecting what he said about my male peers, like all of that kind of fell into place at once.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I remember that moment. I remember it as me being very embarrassed. It wasn't until my therapist put it into perspective that she was like, again, this is another example of a grooming tactic, approaching the topic of anything sexual and these jokes that he was making. And that there's another time he taught me the word libido. And he taught me at that time, because it was in a song, was the reason. And he taught me about when men have high libidos versus women. And when you're in your 20s, women have lower libidos while men have high, and then it flips in their 30s. Like he went into it.
Whoa. Wow.
In detail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is so wildly. Yeah.
Very inappropriate.
Yes.
It's so interesting the way that your perception is skewed when you're a child in that situation, because when he said that to me, I thought, he's a teacher. He's teaching me. I didn't think it was inappropriate. And I carried that perspective into adulthood. Mm-hmm. And I told my friend that story once, someone that I met as an adult. And she was like, hey, if my daughter came home and she told me that, I would be calling the principal. And I was like, seriously? And
yeah,
it's just, that was normal to me because he was my favorite teacher. He was like the teacher to me. So I thought that was appropriate.
Yeah, no, that all makes sense.
Yeah. My senior year is where we get the shift, I think, because he goes through a divorce my senior year.
Got it.
At the beginning of my senior year, this woman was working at the school in the band. So she was like an extracurricular position in the band. She wasn't a teacher, like a coaching position.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed his moods, and I noticed that he wasn't himself. He wasn't super fun. He wasn't like talkative. He was staying after school a lot. And I just picked up on something and ended up asking him, are you okay? You seem really off. And he told me about his divorce. He told me he was going through a divorce, and he told me not to tell his peers because he wasn't ready to talk or my peers, because he wasn't ready to talk to anyone else about it.
Oh, so now you have a little secret.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So you feel special, even more special.
Mm-hmm. I felt wildly special and very defensive of him. And that is important because that becomes my whole relationship with him, is I become very defensive of him and very like, I need to take care of him.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this secret. And when my peers were giving him a hard time, I'd be like, guys, stop. You can't treat him like that. Like, you can't make that joke. Or like they would say things about her because they thought that those two were still together. And I would just be sitting there like I would try to change the subject for him. I always felt like I was trying to mediate for him.
Like you don't understand. You don't have the information that I do. Yeah.
Yes. Which I'm pretty sure I like actually said because I was a teenager. And I was like, you guys just don't understand what he's going through. And they were like, do you?
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
I can't
I can't tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it starts. And then at some point that year, he joins my church, which was a very small church in town. He did not live in that town. He lived quite far from where he taught, but he would drive to our town now to be a part of my church and my worship team that I was on. So then I started seeing him at church for worship practice. So I would go to school, I would have musical rehearsal where he was, and then I would go to worship practice where he also was.
So you're seeing him basically every day at this point?
Yes, every day. Yeah. And over the weekends. And we had Saturday services and Sunday. So I saw him both days of the weekend. Fridays for acapella. Like, yes, truly every single day I saw this man. And when I saw him at church, he was very casual and very open about his marriage falling apart. And I got a lot of details at church about what he said his wife did in their marriage, what he said was the end of their marriage, how he ended up living. He ended up living in a converted barn apartment down the road from me as well.
Whoa.
Yeah. And all of this played out in front of me at church. Mm-hmm. And none of my peers weren't there. It was just me. But there were other adults. And that's how I would be like, oh, it's fine. He's not. I would talk myself down because I'd be like, wow, I'm so special. He's sharing these things with me. But it's okay because there are other adults there too.
Yeah. And we're in a church. Like, yeah, God is here.
Yeah. This is safe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder, like, you would know better than we would, is a grooming tactic as well to try to normalize the relationship, like, outside of school, like get you in other areas to normalize it further?
Yes. I talk a lot about that on my page. When an adult starts to infiltrate other areas of the child's life, I think we always need to raise red flags and monitor that closely, because not only did he then infiltrate my church and he was there, he befriended my parents at the church. And you'll get a great story about that later, but became friends with my adult leaders at the church. And groomers often also groom community. And so he became a friendly face to everyone in my circle through that too. Yeah.
To make it seem so safe and so normal, but special. Yeah.
Yes. So that happened my senior year in the spring. We went to Disney World, and on this trip, his ex-wife came and she was my chaperone.
Oh.
And that was deeply uncomfortable for me because my peers at this point finally knew that they were getting a divorce. He had told everyone before the trip, which I don't know. A lot of people I tell this story to say he didn't even need to tell everyone.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I walk that line because it's also like everyone thought they were married and we were going on this trip. I don't know. Yeah. Regardless, I shouldn't have known. And I shouldn't have known the things I did. And so when I was with her as my chaperone, I hated her so much because I knew all these things that he told me. And I thought that she had done all these things to him. Now I realize I don't know. I only know what he said.
Yeah.
But it was a deeply uncomfortable time for me because of him.
Was she your chaperone randomly, or was that somehow?
It appeared random to me. I don't know behind the scenes if the adults, had sorted those groups beforehand, but it was like we showed up at Hollywood Studios and were put into groups that day. So she was my chaperone that day, but not when we were at Magic Kingdom. If that makes sense.
Okay. Was she another teacher?
Not a teacher, but she was like in a coaching position for the band. Okay. So the band and choir went to Disney World to perform. That's the context I forgot to provide. So
cool.
Yeah. And we performed Les Mis, which is, it was really lovely for me. But now looking back, I'm like, I don't know what to think of that because I was given the On My Own solo, which he knew I loved so much. It's just another point of, did he pick it because he loved Les Mis, or did he make me love Les Mis and then pick it? Yeah. I don't know. I'll never get stuff like that. But yeah. Mm-hmm. So all of that my senior year. Now, I graduate at 17 because I have that late birthday. Shortly after I graduate, sometime in May, my parents host a wine party, which was something normal that they did. It was like a wine tasting. I wish they still did it, honestly, because I would love to go. My dad would do like binders of all the different wines and food pairings, and it was a whole to-do. And
Sounds fun.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I always telling my dad, like, you should do that again. That was really, like, I want to enjoy that now.
Yeah.
So they did this. I was 17, and Mr. Davis was invited to this party because, like I said, he had befriended my parents.
Mm-hmm.
That night, my brother and I were going to watch a movie. So we went to the Red Box, if you recall.
Yes. R.I.P.
What year did you graduate high school?
2013.
Oh, same.
Okay. I was 2012. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
So Red Box.
Well,
So
right
this
there.
was also during the time of Glee, was it not? Because I think the On My Own, the Mr. Schuster, like there's a lot of
that was
an important context.
Little Liars. Pretty Little Liars.
Yes. You got me on
Rachel's
board
like
now.
that I can relate to.
This is important. This is important context. I was seeing the way that Mr. Schuster behaved with his students. And
and Ezra and Arya.
Yes. And Ezra and Arya. And I was like, that could work.
Mm-hmm.
You're so right. Oh my gosh. Yep.
Because Mr. Schuster was so casual with his students. They would definitely drive to go to choir, like a cappella performances and hang out on the weekends. And like,
one time, Mr. Davis met us at the movies to see Pitch Perfect because we were in our group, and he was like, it's research. And I remember sitting next to him in the theater like, this is really inappropriate. I don't feel like we should be here with you watching this
highly sexual, like teen movie. Yeah.
But that's something, again, that Mr. Schuster would have done. So I was like, how lucky that I have a Mr. Schuster. And that episode where Rachel is in love with Mr. Schuster.
And she's singing like On My Own all the time. Like, I considered naming my cat Mr. Schuster for a while, and then was Tobias from Sweeney Todd instead.
Oh, I love.
But I was very locked into that. So the 2013 graduation, we know what is going on culturally at the time, which is all privy to also this like grooming environment.
Yeah, it was glorified in the media.
Yep. And it really made made me, what would the word be? I don't know. I was just more excited about it, thought it was more possible, thought it was thrilling. So I went to the movie with my little brother, or to the Red Box, and some guy came up to me and was like, oh, that's a really good movie. I'll have to come home and watch that with you later. And it was like you're like local neighborhood creep. Like it was just an old guy at the local Red Box who said it. I got in the car with my brother. We drove home, and I went straight to my mom, and I was like, Mom, listen what happened. This was so creepy. And Mr. Davis was sitting next to my mom, and he turned to me and he said, that's not weird. Of course he hit on you. You're a beautiful young woman. You're going to get hit. And that feeling of like, oh my God, he just said that he thinks I'm beautiful.
And a woman.
And then he,
in front of your mother,
down in front of my mother, he turned to her and he said, no, really, would it be weird if I hit on your daughter if I hadn't been her teacher?
Oh, okay. Yep. He's planting seeds.
Yep. And that was the moment that I knew that he had some kind of crush on me, is what I would have said at the time.
Yeah. But you've graduated high school now. So he's probably laying it on a little thicker at this point.
Yes.
Yeah. You're still not an adult though.
What was your mom's reaction to this?
Yeah.
I get asked this a lot. I don't recall, because I was just like blacked out and like, oh my God, he thinks that I'm beautiful and he wants to hit on me. My mom is not confrontational at all. the opposite, would prefer to run from confrontation. And so I remember her being there and then her not being there. I think she made some kind of excuse to like flight from it, to flee from it. Even now, if I ask her about it, she'll say she doesn't really remember the whole situation. But also, I think it's important to note that no one thinks it's happening to them. And so when he said that, I think it was very easy to be like, well, number one, he's drunk, which he was at that time. Number two, I'm drunk, which my mom was, everyone was at this wine party at this point in the evening. And so I think it was easy just to be like, okay, that was weird. Yes, that would be weird. I'm leaving.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a weird comment. We don't need to dwell on it or something like that. Yeah.
Exactly. Like that's not something bigger. I don't want to think about that again because that made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I ended up talking to him that night for a really long time about college and music and everything at this party with lots of adults. And it was just me and him sitting together talking for a long time. I ended up telling him I was really intimidated by my college roommate because she was really pretty and she liked to run. And he was like, well, let me see a picture of her, which is weird, but I didn't think so at the time. So I pulled out her Facebook and I showed him a picture and he said, I don't think she's pretty. She looks kind of old, don't you think?
Looks kind of old.
Oh, that's horrifying. Okay. Oh,
yeah.
Because I like them young. Is what he's really
and she was also 17 is the crazy thing. She's like another 17-year-old girl. And at the time, I remember being like, I don't know what he's talking about. She just looks pretty to me.
But he fully just said that on purpose, just as another like, and he's also like drunk at this point too.
Yes. And so that conversation somehow fizzled. I ended up going upstairs. He was the last person at this party. At one point, he drove back to his barn apartment drunk, but it was right down the road, to get some special bourbon that he wanted to share with my parents, came back. They ended up sharing this bourbon on my parents' patio. He broke my dad's glasses. My dad still tells this story. He was a mess. He tells my mom, I guess he told my mom, this is what she recalls most about this party, about a girl that he was seeing that played an April Fool's prank on him where she said she was pregnant and he thought it was funny. And my mom was like, that's not funny. And just like spewing just craziness. This night. So he ended up making it home somehow. And I remember the next morning, my dad's comment being something to the effect of, I think Will Davis is trying to be my son-in-law.
Oh.
And I remember that because I ran out of the house and I called my friend Maverick and I was like, oh my God, last night was crazy. And I laid it all out for him. He was like, well, yeah, he likes you.
Wow. Your parents like, call that out too.
You're probably totally romanticizing it in your head too, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. At this point, I'm like, and truly, he's at this point divorced. I'm graduated. So I'm starting to think, oh, he said these things. I wonder if he actually likes me. How do I keep this like projection going? What comes next? I don't know how to, keep it moving in that direction.
Yeah. And your parents, were they concerned or did they just kind of like laugh it off, or?
They laughed it off.
Yeah.
I reflect on this a lot and I try not to dwell on it because I don't know what I would have done differently. I've talked to my dad about it and he was like, if I had said anything, you would have just stopped telling me things and leaned harder into it. My mom, again, is just very avoidant, I think. So I don't know exactly what was going on in their head, but they definitely knew that something was, especially at this point. And then moving forward, there's more, obviously, but yeah. the next big thing was he always hosted this thing he called a senior Q at his house. It was a barbecue for everyone who had graduated. We could come, we were allowed to call him by his first name, and we could ask him anything that we wanted to ask when we were his student. So I go to the senior Q, and he is very casual. I never called him by his first name. I don't think anyone did. I remember noticing a hickey on his neck. My peers noticed it, actually, and we're like, oh my God, look, he has a hickey. I remember feeling jealous about that.
Yeah.
Which, is telling. At that senior Q, he announces that he's moving, that he put in his resignation at the school that I was at, and he was moving across the country. So I was really, really, really upset by that. I was crying, very upset. In reflection, I realized that none of my peers reacted like that. Just me.
Yeah.
And I thought, why don't they care? Why don't they care more? He's moving. He's the most important person to us. And he's leaving and we'll never see him again. And I really thought I would never see him again. And I remember him saying to me, he said, I knew you would be upset by this.
I'm sure he was very much wanting to see your reaction to the news as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And probably your reaction to the hickey.
Yeah, could be. And so he said, I knew that you would be upset by this, but then doubled down on, I have to leave. I've asked his ex to leave and she won't leave. I've been there for 10 years, but she can't leave her position. So I'm just going to get out. So I was really upset. My parents went to his going away party. I was not invited. And then he was gone. And we stayed in touch, I think via Facebook Messenger through my freshman year of college. I would just check in and be like, I auditioned for the women's chorus. And he'd be like, that's great. And we just kind of would have back and forth. Then my freshman year, I was messaging with him one of these times and I was like, hey, are you going to be home for Christmas? He said yes. And so I reached out to my peers and I was like, hey, Mr. Davis is going to be home for Christmas. We should try to see him. And they were like, sure. So we all went to dinner together. And at this dinner, the waitress came out and for some reason assumed everyone was separate except that me and my teacher. She thought we were together.
Okay. Yeah.
Which tells me that she was seeing something.
Picking up on, vibes here.
Dynamic. Interesting.
And in that moment, one of my peers starts cackling, laughing. And it's like, oh my God, that's so funny. Why would she think that? You're so much older than her. And he said, that's not weird. People with this age gap date all the time. I know a lot of people who are happy with this age difference. And she was like, okay, but you were her teacher. And he said, but I'm not.
Oh, wow. Oh, were you just red in the face, blacked out at that point? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's another one of those moments where I was like, why did he say that?
Right.
Why did he double down on that so hard? He could have just been like, yeah, it was weird. And we all could have moved on.
And he's 31 or 2 or something, and you're 18 at this point?
Yeah, I was 18. Yeah. He would be, I think, 33, maybe.
Yikes.
Yeah.
My boyfriend's 33, and even just
Yeah. Exactly.
No, you're still, you're a legal age, but you're still more or less a child. You're,
very much. Especially compared to a man who's 33, watched me grow up, has been through a divorce. I barely had my first kiss. It was
he met you when you were 11. Ew.
Yes. Yes.
No.
He watched me sing. This is me.
Right. He saw your unbelievable performance of Demi Lovato.
And that was the moment.
I mean, understandable.
Yeah.
What happened after that dinner then?
So we again stayed in touch.
Mm-hmm.
I started to have dreams about him every now and then. And it would like haunt me all day. Like I would have a dream about him and I would be like, oh my God, I have to talk to him. That's the only way that I can stop thinking about him. And so I would reach out. We would have a conversation. I think sometimes he would reach out. I really don't remember because they all turned into a back and forth. Whatever happened, it was a reciprocal conversation. The next year for Christmas, he was coming home again. I tried again to get everyone to get together, and no one wanted to or could. And for some reason, he was like, well, let's just get together, you and me. I say for some reason. I feel like at this point it's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
So me and him go to Starbucks and have coffee together one evening in December.
Mm-hmm.
We are there for hours, like 3 hours. I watch the sunset while we're there. We talk about everything, marriage, again, why his marriage failed. He told me, he said, in marriage, you can't have a friend of the opposite gender because it will always turn into something. Yeah. Lots of tips for me about marriage.
Mm-hmm.
He also told me that he had found Jesus and accepted Jesus, which I had joined that very evangelical church in college. So that was very important to me. And I thought that was the single most important thing that could happen in someone's life. Yeah. So when he shared that with me, I was like, oh my God, that's wonderful. And he told me what he calls his prodigal son story. He's the prodigal son who returned to God.
It's like he's like positioning himself to you as like, I am now your perfect partner. I know so many things about marriage. I've learned so much about what it takes. And I have found Jesus. Like I am ready. I am, I don't know.
And at the end of that, I call it a date now because that's what it seemed like. He asked me to walk with him to his car and he gave me a book. I think it was Crazy Love by Francis Chan, which was like a big book in the Christian community at the time. And he was like, I really love this book. I'd love for you to read it. I'd love to talk about it with you. And I drove home and that night I got a text from him and he said, I think you should start calling me Will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's taking it up a notch. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take away the teacher portion of this relationship. We're now on a first name basis because you and I are equals.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And I remember that Christmas Eve service, he came back to my church and he sang. And I remember crying because I was like, his voice, he's so beautiful. His voice is so beautiful. Yeah. I was like in love with this man at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, we started texting every single day. We would talk on the phone for hours most days. Like I would stay up until like 2 a.m. talking to him on the phone. We emailed, which I had forgotten about until I started writing my book. And I was like trying to find all this correspondence between us. So I broke into my old college email address and I pulled it up and I was like assaulted by so many essays. He sent me a sermon on Christian love, sex, and dating with attached a 3-page email response with all of his thoughts on everything that the person said in that.
Oh my God.
Whoa. Yeah. Infiltrating your whole mind.
Yeah. And in that he says, sex is only for marriage. He talks about how even then it's a very intimate thing. And he never experienced intimacy when he was with his wife. They lacked that. Like just it was really horrific to read it back now.
Yeah.
And I don't remember where my head was at the time. I think I was just eating all this up. I was like, wow, he is so intentional.
A good Christian man who wants to make a good, honest woman out of me.
Yes.
That's when people hide under the guise of this is what God wants. This is what the Bible says. I'm not doing anything illegal. This is all Christian love. Like that is just like one of the most kind of despicable things.
Yes.
Having grown up in religion and church as well and being super familiar, just like with that, whole background like that. It's really, it's harder to pull apart and actually really see what is wrong about this when they use the example of like, this is so godly. Look at this Bible verse about love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very manipulative, which is not something I saw at the time. But like he sent me, one was a sermon called, and this is so stupid. It was called The person I am looking for is looking for. And that became his like saying. And he said it to me many times. I just want to be the person that the person I'm looking for is looking for. And
yeah. Okay. I get what that is.
Like, yeah, I know. It took a minute.
Yeah.
Well, tongue twister.
What does that mean? Yeah. Yeah. But he would send that to me and be like, here's what I'm doing to become the person that, the rest.
Yeah.
And we would discuss like, here's what I'm doing and here's what I'm looking for. And we discussed dating a lot. And can Christians casually date? That was one of the essays that he sent me, was about whether or not Christians should be dating casually or dating to get married. When I shared this on Healedish, the podcast, something she said has stuck with me forever. But she said, it's almost like in this, he was grooming you to become the partner that he wanted. And you're so right.
He's like kind of skipping the casual dating part of being like, talking about even sex and marriage and what relationships should look like in Christianity. Yeah. He is grooming you to be like his future wife.
Yes.
And also, I wonder, even trying to, like I said before, infiltrate your mind in such a way to manipulate you to be like, yeah, I don't want to casually date anybody else. Like in this time while you're in college, even like entertain anybody else in a casual way and just solely focus on him.
Yeah.
Which is something that we know that he has a history of doing, just continuing to say, you shouldn't be interested in any of these boys at college right now. Yeah.
Right. Like isolating you even further.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot too that he would say, and he said it in the letter that we'll get to in a second, was that I never saw you like this when you were my student. I was not prepared for this. I had no idea that I would see you there at that coffee shop and things would be different. But God put us there together and God is doing this. And I'm just going to trust him because he knows what he's doing. And that was what he said repeatedly. And he would say, as long as we're praying about it, it's fine. And we started to approach that topic of like, okay, we kind of want to be together. Like, I kind of like you, you kind of like me. I think that we want to be together. What's that going to look like? Or are we going to tell people? We talked about telling my parents. We talked about, we talked about boundaries that we would have in place when we saw each other again in the summer when he was going to be home, so that we wouldn't, quote, stumble, because that's what Christians would say.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So we talked about everything and all of it. Anytime something hard came up, he would say, I have a lot of peace because I'm praying about it. I have a lot of peace because apparently he talked to his pastor about me, and his pastor was like, well, as long as you're praying about it, it could be fine.
Yeah.
We can convince ourselves of anything. Jinx.
Freaking jinx. when you are so determined and you want to convince yourself what you're doing is okay, you can absolutely pray about it and be like, I really felt that in here. God's talking to me.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. He said, you should do that. It's the world that sees it as wrong.
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone else is crazy. We're the only ones that know. Everybody else is so weird. The world is weird for thinking that this relationship would be strange. Right.
And that's how cults happen.
No shit.
Yeah. This is manipulation 101 for all sorts of things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really. So that phase of this relationship lasted for 3 months, about 3 months.
Post Starbucks date, everything escalated. Yeah.
So at some point, I get a letter in the mail that I'm going to show on camera, and we can describe it for listeners, but you've seen it if it's on my socials. I don't know if you can tell, but this is hand drawn.
Okay.
Looks like etched in a tree.
Yes. Like the lines of a tree. I wrote Thinking of You, which is the name of my book. There's Bible verses on the back of this letter.
Of course there is. It's like an in and out cup.
Couldn't have something without a Bible verse. This is the content of the letter. There's both written in here, and then there's all of this as well.
He liked to hear himself talk. He was obsessed with his own thoughts. Yes. He thought everybody else should be as well. Yeah. That's what I'm getting from this man.
That is a very correct assessment of this man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and like what better person to really, and a younger woman who, I mean, at this point you are like you're 19, but like still you are going to think he's way smarter and way wiser. And everything he says is like, oh my God, you're so smart. And versus a woman his age, who's going to be like, you're a fucking idiot. Yeah.
Yeah. You're narcissistic is what you are. Yeah. Yes. And I was this captive audience that he would just do things at. This letter, there's a lot in here. He tells me about how beautiful I am. He talks again about how let's just read a piece of it. I really like what he says. You've become a very special person to me. I'm so glad that you re-entered my life. Though this time in a very different capacity. I can't wait to see what God has in store for you, me, and us. I wish I could be closer to you. There's just lots of stuff in here. And I remember that this was the first time I read it and I thought, this is serious. This is really, if he means what he's saying to me, he really wants to be with me. He wants it to be serious. Number one, not number one, but this was very important to me at the time, was that it's a long distance relationship. He was like several states away from where I went to college. And then there's the fact that he was my teacher, and how are we going to tell people? Is he going to get in trouble at his job now if we tell people? Can we tell my parents? All of that. So I received this letter. I was going on a mission trip. I say mission trip. It was a beach vacation. We'll get back to that. But I was going on a mission trip, and I said to him, I really want a week. I don't want to talk to you for a week. I need space. I can't really process this as we're talking. I need to pray about it. I need to be in my own head about it. And I need to focus on this trip I'm going on. So we agreed that we want to talk for a week. On this trip is where I met my now husband.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So we went to Panama City Beach. And the trip was that we would give free van rides to the college students who were spring breaking at Panama City Beach.
So they wouldn't drink and drive?
Yes.
I mean, that's really cool. But also definitely like you're also going to go there and party too.
Yeah. And we would drive them from the clubs to their hotels. But while we had them trapped in our van, we would share the gospel with them and try to get them to accept Jesus.
Oh, that's so wholesome.
I think
that needs to be a scene in a movie somewhere.
Yeah.
Like you get trapped with these people. You just get a van ride. You think you got an Uber, like a free Uber. Yeah.
No, we're taking you straight to heaven's gates.
And they're like drunk and you're talking about like
and there's like there are so many ways that this could go, right? Some of them were like they're so drunk, we're like, let me tell you what Jesus has done for me. And then we're all crying in the car. Them because they're drunk, us because we're like hyper emotional Christians. And we had so you could be on teams. You were either on street teams, which is when you were walking the strip, handing out cards for the van rides and sharing the gospel. There were vans where you were giving the rides. One person was driving and there were 2 other people in the van so that you could corner them.
Right.
And then the third one was you would go to the prayer room, which was like this giant room where they had a big screen display. And every time someone accepted Jesus, their name would come up on the screen display. Like the people in the van would text it to this number and it would pop up. And your job in the prayer room was to pray for that person.
This was a full-on operation.
I spent thousands of dollars to do this.
Oh my God. I love this little segment.
It's actually like, it's so wholesome because the same tactics can be used to do something terrible.
Yeah,
but you're actually just a bunch of 19-year-olds reading about Jesus.
That's true. That's very true.
Because I've never heard of anything like this before, but this is
it was a big. I bet one of your listeners is going to be like, "Oh my God, that happened to me."
I was one of those drunk idiots.
I accepted Jesus.
Yeah.
In 2015.
Mary Beth, you saved me. That's so awesome.
That's really, I love that so much.
Thank God you went on this trip though, because you met your husband.
Yeah,
exactly.
That it was worth it all along to spend the thousands to do that. Yeah,
exactly. And that's what him and I say all the time. We're like, it was worth it. And my husband played college football. He's a very attractive teenage boy.
Yeah.
My age. And he was very flirtatious. I think he kind of liked me. And I remember just being like, I don't know what's going to become of this, but it kind of feels really good to flirt with a man my age and to think like, oh, if we dated, how easy that would be.
Yeah. I don't have to hide this and feel ashamed.
Yeah. Yes. And my peers were excited about it. And they were like, oh my God, I think he likes you. And I would never have that. And that kind of sparked, then I would go on this journey like, okay, also all of these firsts, my first home, my wedding, like all of this wouldn't match with his. Mm-hmm. And that obviously happens, in different stages of life, whatever. But when you're a teenager and you're talking about someone who like had a whole ass marriage and divorce and lived a whole bunch of life, 14 more years of life, all of his adult life that I hadn't lived yet, it was a really big deal.
Yeah.
So I remember I reached at some point on that trip the decision that I was going to end the path that I was headed on with my teacher. And it hurt a lot to admit that because I really loved that man a lot. And I knew that when I said that, I was going to be ruining our relationship entirely. And that's the part that I want people to understand is there's so much tied up in that man. It wasn't just like I had a crush on this older man. This man taught me how to sing. He taught me my passion. He was there through all of my like highs and lows of high school. When I was getting bullied in high school, he pulled me aside because he noticed I was crying. Like he made himself that to me.
Yeah.
So it was really difficult to rip that off. And I didn't even know all the damage I was going to do when I did it. Still.
Yeah.
So I get back and I told my friend, here's the situation. I have to end it. And she was like, I don't think you owe him, a big explanation. I think you just tell him what you just told me. I met someone on this trip. I don't know if something's going to happen between us, but it made me realize that I want something with someone my age. So that night I called him and we were going to talk about my trip, but he was really upset and ended up telling me that he had fallen back into a sin that he had struggled with previously. That sin was pornography.
Mm.
And he tells me all about what he calls an addiction to pornography. Tells me about, the role it played in his marriage. All kinds, like,
yeah,
just like
some graphic details here
about, this.
Wow.
And I was like, number one, I don't know what to do with any of that you just told me. Mm-hmm. I again was a very, very innocent, with the wholesome trip I just took. I had barely kissed a boy at this point in my life. And so what I was learning was like, I had no experience with any of it. And I was like, I don't know what to do, but he's clearly very upset. So I tried to comfort him. And I was like, I can't tell him right now. I can't. He's really upset.
Mm.
He's going to think I'm doing this because he told me about this sin of his, and I don't want him to feel bad. So
do you think he sensed that maybe you were going to walk away and he played this hand because he knew that you felt defensive of him and that you needed to take care of him in some sort of way?
I do now. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I do. Because it's hard to deny that, like I already had told him I didn't want to talk to him for a week. It seems very timely. And now that I see all of his behaviors put together, I'm like, that was manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
That was him trying to manipulate me.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting is, so that conversation ended and I laid in my bed and I just sobbed because I was like, I don't see a way that I am ever going to escape this because he needs me. And I have to be here for him.
Oh.
And I don't know how much time passed, but he did end up calling me back. And he was like, I just talked and I never asked about your trip. How was your trip? And I don't know what happened. At the time I called it God. I don't know what I believe anymore, so I don't know what to call it. But I just spewed what I had planned, just fell out of me. Mm-hmm. He said, how was your trip? And I just said, I met someone and I don't think I want this with you. And just laid it out there.
Oh,
and he said that he had expected that he thought that's what I was going to say, which kind of telling. Mm-hmm. And then he said, this is so crazy. Then he said, can I ask this young man's name? I would like to pray for him.
Oh,
hey.
And so then that's when I said, I don't want to tell you, because his name was William. His name's the same first name as my teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And he laughed and said something along the lines of, I deserved that. Said, God's funny. And then he hung up and I've never talked to him again.
Oh, wow. I'm very surprised by that. I'm very surprised.
Yeah.
Like he didn't try to reach out or anything. I'm extremely surprised.
Never. He has never tried to reach out after that.
Wow.
Holy crap.
Wow. How did that make you feel that he never tried to reach out again?
Awful. It was really, really jarring. I don't know what I thought. I was naive. I knew I was ruining the relationship. I didn't think that it was like he would never talk to me again. Like I thought somehow we could get back to, like, I would move back and become a teacher and I could talk to him about, because I became a teacher, and we would, reconnect, and maybe we could just forget that happened. And it was also like, at first I was like, he's very respectful. He's respecting my space, maybe. I went through a lot of different excuses for him about that, but it was really, really devastating. It still feels really devastating. I never got any type of closure for that whole thing.
Yeah.
And people ask me all the time, like, why did you keep this letter? And I kept it because I ended it. And then I started to be like, did I imagine that whole thing? He said he cared about me, but like, he never tried to. The second I said I maybe liked someone else, he was done.
Yeah.
And something interesting is I've connected with a woman. Her name's Megan Farrison. She wrote the book Dissonance, which is her story about being groomed by her high school band director. And when she read my story, she said that was the most triggering chapter for her, because that's how her relationship with her band director ended as well. It was very tournament, immediate. He never tried to reach out again. And so many people I've connected with, that's been the experience. And it's very telling that they knew what they did. That they
was wrong.
Yes.
Right. And if their victim has any sense of, okay, I'm like waking up out of this, and they realize like, okay, I'm losing it. Like, I got to cut and run immediately. There's no contact ever again. That makes sense, actually, in hindsight, like thinking about it in that way.
Yeah. The interesting thing is he remained my friend on Facebook for many years after that. And I kept him there because I was like, I still felt this type of connection to him. And again, was like hopeful that maybe time would pass. I ended up blocking him. It's embarrassing how long it took, but I think I was like 24, 25 when I blocked him.
The same age he was when he first met
me. Yes. So I ended up blocking him. And then a few years later, he randomly moved back to my hometown and took his old job back at my old high school.
Whoa.
This is like 3 or 4 years ago now. And that, as you can imagine, was super triggering for me. I had finally started to realize that I had been groomed and what that relationship was. And then for him to come back, he never asked for my discretion. He never reached out to me, never made it seem like he expected anything but silence from me. And took that job back. I live in the town next door to where I grew up. And I was directing shows in the town next door, and he was directing shows in the town next. And so I was panicking like every time I went somewhere that I was going to run into him. And that is why I started writing my book, because I was just very panicky. So I started taking his letter and taking lines of his letter and then just writing responses. And then eventually that turned into, I would take a line from his letter and then I would reflect on a memory that I had with him in some way that really, like, that was drawn up by that line in his letter. And it started as just like an exercise for me to process it and get it all out. And at some point during that, he adds me on Facebook from a new account.
Some point as you're writing this letter, but you haven't, or this book, but you haven't published anything yet, right?
I haven't shared about any of it.
Right.
I have started telling more people.
Yeah.
At this point, the more I wrote, I kind of got a little bit courageous, and this was when I connected with that girl from high school.
Mm-hmm.
Told me that thing. So I don't know why he did that. I accepted it because I was like, is he finally trying to reach out? It's been almost 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
He did not. And I ended up blocking him again before I published for obvious reasons. But
Yeah.
he ended up teaching there for a few years and then left. I don't know what he's doing now, but I know he lives in my area. And so I'm still a little bit on edge, especially since I published a book about him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what birthed the book, I guess.
When was the book published?
Recently, this summer in August.
Oh, wow.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Thank you.
Did you grapple with you? Because I know in the book you use a pseudonym. Did you grapple with like the option of really outing him for sake of like, maybe they're, you know, I don't know. We don't know what he's doing, obviously, right? But like, yeah, outing him for sake of maybe there are other girls he's talking to now or something like that. What was your process?
So when I started to realize this is becoming something I think I want to share with people, because I think that a lot of people think that these grooming or, you know, teachers preying on students, young people being preyed on in general, looks insidious and feels insidious to everyone. And people would read little pieces of my writing and they would think, I wish someone knew what this looks like to a child and what the child is feeling. Because if we tell our kids to avoid people who are uncomfortable, we're not protecting them, because I was never feeling that from him. I trusted him. So I started to think I need this story to be out there for other people, but also for me. I've held this story for him for 10 years. He never asked me to, but I did that for him because I'm very defensive of him. And so releasing it was kind of like a release in that way. I thought about my first step was I was going to release under a pseudonym or a pen name for myself. And eventually I talked to the publisher that I eventually found, and he encouraged me to use my own name because it's my story. But I chose not to use this man's name because I have nothing legally to take against him.
Right.
I have no case. I even called the Department of Education and tried to report him, and they had nothing they could do.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Because he's walked that fine line this entire time of nothing was technically ever illegal or inappropriate from like an administration.
Yeah.
Like, what could they get him in trouble for?
Exactly. Like he maybe had boundaries.
Right.
Like, yeah.
That just makes me like all the more like good for you for, okay, I can't do anything from this perspective, or I'm not going to use his full name, but I'm going to still share my story in a cathartic way for you and to like reclaim that experience and like potentially help anyone else who might have read it or seen your Instagram account, which has really grown since you've launched it. Connect with those people on your reels. And I don't know if you have a TikTok either. We're not as good at TikTok, but how impactful to share that, where it's not always insidious and it's not always like, oh, we were having a sexual relationship when I was a high schooler. Sometimes it doesn't look like that. Sometimes it looks like your example when it's still like you could have absolutely ended up marrying this person.
Yeah, exactly. And my therapist once asked me, like, if he had initiated like a sexual advance towards you, would you have accepted? And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I would have. And that's what's important to identify too. Yeah.
And people talk. It's a small town. They know you. They know who you're talking about, you know, in this story, even though you're not naming him outright. Like the effect is still effective, like very effective. Like he knows.
Exactly.
Everybody knows. Yeah.
I didn't have to say anything for, you know, people to connect the dots. I didn't change his job because people were like, well, why'd you change his name, but not his job? And I'm like, because I didn't want to implicate another teacher at my school.
Yeah.
Right.
If I had said that, and also the nature of that relationship is different than a teacher, like a history
Definitely.
teacher.
Yeah.
Totally.
So I couldn't. But yeah, there are people know.
Yeah.
But if he wants to hide from it, he can. He has that option to just not go back, to that town.
You had mentioned, I think you had said like it was only like 3 or 4 years ago when you started to really unpack like all of the different ways that you were groomed, and that's what it was. That's what was happening. What made you seek therapy in the first place, like in your late 20s? Yeah. And like, how was that process unpacking everything and realizing the actual nature of that relationship you had?
So it's interesting because it took every bit of the 10 years in the gap in that relationship. So when I was in my earlier 20s, like I would say like 24, I went to therapy, but it wasn't for this. I went because I was just generally very anxious. I was having panic attacks. And one of the days, like weeks into therapy, I was like, I'm feeling very anxious because I had a dream about my high school choir director. Mm-hmm. And she asked me to tell her about the dream. It's a recurring dream. I still have these dreams. I've tried everything to get rid of them. Honestly, it's better now. I did EMDR therapy, which I don't know if you've heard of or experienced, but that
I've done EMDR.
Was really powerful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that has been the only thing that quieted these dreams. But I used to have them where I'd be back in high school, but I would be the age I am now. And he would somehow end up there, and I'd be surprised by that. And he would ignore me. That was the first iteration of this dream. So I would be there
because you are older. He only wanted you when you were young.
Yeah.
And sorry, I'm a dream interpreter.
Good. You can tell me. I have some good ones for you. But he would tell me, or he would ignore me, and I would feel like, oh my God, he's mad at me. He's mad at me. I hurt him. What do I do? Can I make this right? Can I explain myself? So I told her about, I had this dream. It makes me feel this type of way. And she was like, well, can you tell me about your relationship with that teacher? And I was like, we had like a thing after I graduated. Mm-hmm. And she was like, what? And I was like, no, it's fine. It was after I graduated.
Yeah.
So she started to unpack it, and she was the first one. It was that session that I went back and told her just some of the high level things about high school. And she was like, have you heard the term grooming? And I was like, no, I don't know what that is. And she told me, and I denied it. I was like, that did not happen to me. That's not what this was. This was, he developed feelings for me when I was graduated, and I liked him. I really liked him back. Like, that wasn't grooming. And she had me do an exercise called Uncovering Your Anger, because she was like, you need to be mad. And I have all the letters I wrote during that, and they were all like, she wants me to be mad at you, but I'm not. I don't know how to be mad at you. You didn't do anything wrong. So I ended up stopping going to therapy for a while. I went back again to unpack this specifically. Mm-hmm. And I did a lot of hard work there when I was like 26, because again, the dreams, I could not get them to stop. And the way I would feel after them was the reason I needed them to stop, because they would just last for like 3 days. I would be like, how is he? Is he okay? What does he think of me? Mm. Did I ruin his life? Because I talk about it in my book, but the trajectory of his life post me is not who he was before. And so I went back to therapy, did a lot of unpacking, felt really good about where I landed. I thought that I had accepted it. I thought, it's okay. I know what happened. He was just really irresponsible. He shouldn't have done that. And then he moved back. And that was like the panic level. Like, if I run into him, what's going to happen? What do I call him? What do I say? Do I pretend nothing happened? Do I run away? And so I went back again, and that's when I did EMDR, and that's when I was writing my book, and I was able to like finally see he wasn't just irresponsible. He did something wrong.
Yeah.
But it took that whole time for me to finally be able to say that.
Wow. Yeah, he had like got his claws so deep in you that it just took you so long to realize that he was predatory. Even.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
A lot of victims and survivors experience a sense of shame, even though like this so clearly was not your fault. I'm wondering if you dealt with any shame once you did come to the realization, and how you have moved through that and what advice you would give to other survivors.
I felt shame in the sense that I felt responsible for this. I used to say, I made this happen because I had a crush first, and I pushed at boundaries. I didn't have appropriate boundaries as a student. I asked him about his personal life, and he shared. I asked him to get coffee that time when it was just us. I put together the hangout with my peers. I'm responsible, like some kind of seductress. Like I did this. And not even that I was ashamed of him. I just thought I have no right to feel harmed. I'm obsessed. I'm an obsessive person. I'm obsessed with him. This is a character trait of mine that's bad. I started to accept that it's different by honestly writing was really powerful for me because I wrote it down and I read it back, like each memory by memory. And when I read it back, it was like I was looking at it happening to someone else. And I could be like, oh, that's not right. If my best friend came to me and she said, you know, my teacher did this, I would say, that's not right. It doesn't matter what you said or did. Your teacher should not be doing that.
You were a child.
You were a child. And it is not your job to hold a boundary. It's not your job to know what's appropriate and what's not. That is an adult job. So when I wrote each memory, I like watched it shift in my head. And sometimes I would even imagine it happening to my child. Hard, but also very powerful because I'm very protective of my children. And like my therapist would point out, you should feel that for yourself because you were a child. And it also helps, honestly.
I know it's like healing your inner child really is like, yeah.
And getting older. I talk about this on my page a lot, but the trauma of it has gotten worse as I've gotten older because I've realized as I've gotten older just how insidious it was and how bad it was. Because when I was younger, I thought it was something that you could easily stumble into. And now I'm 30 and I direct teenagers. And I'm like, no, that's not it. That's not something that just happens. It doesn't just happen.
You were like the age he was
and the profession.
You were in high school. Yeah.
And I'm not even as old as he was still.
Right.
Is the crazy part. Like I'm not even, he was 34 at the time that I was 19. I'm not even there yet. And it's been 10 years. Like,
yeah. How are you feeling now, kind of like post publication of the book and like the reception you've gotten and like how has that been kind of like a part of your overall healing journey of where you're at?
So that was the other time that I upped my therapy, like, you know, from once a month to weekly. I had to go to therapy because the publishing was really, really scary. The first day that it was published, a girl that I went to high school with went online on her Facebook page and posted a really long paragraph about how there are people out there who are saying bad things about the greatest teacher who has ever taught, and he's the best man ever, and he saved her. and she called them heinous lies, said I was doing it for fame. But
this is not girlhood.
The craziest part is that she named him in her post and posted a picture of him.
She did the work that you weren't able to do. She finished it for you. So,
well, was she also groomed too? Like that's also a weird.
It was a weird response, and
that's how you used to be so defensive of him.
Yes, my gut reaction immediately was, no, I'm not friends with her. So someone sent it to me. So I messaged her and I said, hey, I have never named him. Please take that down. Which I had to unpack in therapy later because I was like, why was my first response to protect him again? To come out and say, like, you just doxed him. Like I put all this work into saving his identity and you just like undid all of that in one post. She did immediately take it to, she said, oh, sorry, I thought you named him. I was like, you have not looked at anything then.
Yeah.
Or read like you've clearly not engaged with my story at all. And then she said a lot of things, including I was alone with him all the time and I never felt uncomfortable. Which I said, me too, girl. Yeah. And then she said, I guess I had heard that you guys went on a date after graduation. And I was like, okay, so you knew then. And also, I don't know, like, whatever. And then she said, you were always his favorite. I always felt like his second favorite and felt jealous of you.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa. Oh, wow.
Oh, boy.
Is she your age then? Like you guys...
She was a little younger than me. She was like, I think 2 or 3 years behind me. So she
was runner up.
And for a few years, but then he left while she was still in high school.
Got it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so she was also in love with him.
Yes. And that's what, when I shared it with my husband, his first response was to say, I want you to know that there is not one teacher that I've had that I would so quickly and strongly defend like that. Like that behavior was weird. That was that tells me that man had inappropriate relationships with students, period. Like, even if it's not grooming, that attachment, letting a student get that attached to you is not okay. And one of my other was like, you need to realize, Mary Beth, that a younger you before therapy, like a 23-year-old me, would have probably done the same thing, would have probably gone so hard defending him. So it kind of gave me some perspective in that way.
Wow.
But yeah, that was...
There are more.
I bet. Yeah. There's definitely more. And I'm sure it's been passed around in your community. But I mean, just even for me randomly in Southern California, 30-year-olds stumbled upon it as well. So I'm sure it has really gone beyond from what you can even imagine at this point.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't think I know the conversations that are, and I don't want to at this point.
Sure.
Unless they're going to be productive. I love engaging in productive conversation, but if, it's his, that's what I had to realize. This is his fault. It's not my secret. And I can tell my story. And if he didn't want to look like this, then he shouldn't have done that.
Period.
And I can't help what I see now.
Yeah. That is what we say on the Traumedy show. That is like something we've said about a lot of times and other stories we've shared. And I'm so blown away, honestly, by the way you've been able to process this and your bravery in writing it down and sharing it with other people, and the way you've reclaimed a lot of this. And I'm happy to see you married and with children and with someone who's age appropriate. And
yes,
I know that healing's not linear, and by no means you're like, oh, it's perfect, I'm healed now. But it's really important part of the conversation. And I'm so honored to have you on this podcast and have shared that story.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for elevating the story, because like I said, I think it's really important that we tell these stories. And I don't want to, I think all of them need to be told, but I think ones like mine tend to be quiet because we feel like he never touched me. Nothing happened.
Right.
I don't have any claim to this trauma that I feel. So I don't want to share it like this. But now that I found so many women who say this happened to me too. And I thought that I was obsessive and that I was crazy, but that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah.
Absolutely not. To somebody who might be listening to this right now, who has either been in your shoes or might be experiencing some sort of grooming currently, what would you say or what advice would you give?
I would say, I would reiterate a lot of the points that we touched on. But number one, you were a child and you did not have responsibility for that other person's actions, no matter what you said or did. If a person is in a position of authority, like a teacher, they have to keep boundaries, period. Something someone once said that I think is really powerful is you could have laid naked in front of that man and he should have not done anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, done something, but like he should have put a boundary in place. He should have done something. There's no responsibility on you as a child, even if, like in my case, the escalation happened after graduation. It doesn't take away the years of relationship building. And once you start to accept that, then you can start to reckon with it. And that hurts worse. It's less comfortable because you have to accept some really hard truths and accept that relationship you thought was really special was not what you thought it was. But it's so worth it because on the other side, you're able to see it for what it was. And there's a lot of clarity and there's a lot of peace in that.
It's really powerful.
Chills.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Mary Beth, thank you so much for coming on. This story was so powerful and I commend you so much for coming and telling it again, as hard as it is. But I hope that in some way, every time you do tell it, it's a little bit more therapeutic and, you know, we work through it even just a tiny, tiny bit more. And you're really helping a lot of people by, you know, sharing your story far and wide. So we are privileged to have you here to, you know, help amplify your voice. So thank you so much. And please, will you tell people where they can find you on social and where they can find your book?
Yes. So on socials, I'm on TikTok and Instagram at, I think it's mary.beth.runnoe. And then my book is Thinking of You. It's available anywhere books can be ordered. It's not, I don't think you can show up at a store and get it. Maybe one day, that's a dream.
Mm-hmm.
But you can get it at Amazon. It's on Kindle. It's in a physical copy. Barnes & Noble, I know, also has it. There's a link in my bio on my Instagram that has it. So it's available in a wide plethora of places.
Amazing.
Amazing. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.